right there, dental venturers. We're going to dive right into the next episode on this limited series podcast on dental marketing tips and strategies for startups. So jumping in on this one, again, another long episode because there's a lot to talk about here, but we're going to talk about digital marketing, which is the cornerstone of marketing, I would say, but there's so much more than that. So I don't want people to get caught up on, you don't want to just rely on digital marketing for building out your startup practice. So we're going to talk a little bit about online, especially Google, because I do think Google is crucial. But go back, listen to all the episodes in order, use the workbook, schedule a call with me if you've got any questions. But the biggest thing here is go back and look at the website episode if you didn't fully listen to that and engage with that, because none of this will matter. None of the digital marketing will matter if you didn't really take the time to set your website up correctly. So, but let's go ahead and dive on in here. Google, Bing, search engines in general, they're very, very confusing. I'm going to discuss SEO, but I'm not sure that we shouldn't be thinking about this emergence of AI and will SEO be as important? It will, don't get me wrong, something you definitely want to be participating in, but content, as much as it'll still be important, look at how things are showing up now when you type in, I don't know, example, but like healthy gums, or bleeding gums. People have a problem, they type it in. You've got more of like the big companies like Healthline, the ADA, Crest, et cetera. All of them are kind of answering these questions to get people to their website. And they're always going to have more clout, more content, and generally are going to win those battles of SEO. So it's just a very diluted and complex marketplace. And digital marketing creates great width for your marketing strategy. What I mean by that is you can really go into a lot of areas with that, but I highly suggest using traditional media as well, because that's where you're going to create depth. I had mentioned before that people need to see you, you know, 11 to 19 times in 4 different areas and actually interact with you. And so you can't just do this solely online, I don't feel like, anymore, especially if you're building a brand, especially if you're looking to build a relationship style practice. So if you want to create depth, we're going to talk a little bit more in another episode about, traditional marketing and different things you can do. But what I mean is, having people actually start a journey with you versus just responding to a chatbot on Facebook or Google Ads. So with that said, here's sort of a simple guide on what you need to know about Google, which in my opinion is going to be your biggest source for those online patient leads, especially the people that are, out there now. Don't ignore Bing. Its AI platform is a lot better in my opinion than Google's. I'm sure that'll change, but there's definitely adoption there and people are using it. And let me just kind of back up for a second and talk about that AI piece. So basically, if you think about how people search now, let's just say they type in cosmetic dentist, Raleigh, North Carolina. And so that'll bring up maps, that'll bring up a lot of different things for Google, but that's really at the end of their search, right? Like they've searched something else, they've researched something else first, then they're looking for the provider that does it. So that's important. But think about the problem that person might have had before they ever got there. They might go to AI and ask those questions. I mean, think about how, I used it the other day for trip planning. Plan me a trip to Kiowa Island, South Carolina with a 5-year-old, 2 days focused on children's activities, 2 days focused on adult activity. Like I had all these different things already, and it just gave me a complete itinerary, places to look at for travel, websites to click. I mean, it did probably 90% of my search work that I would have done on Google. It took care of it for me. Now I have to trust it, right? But I was able to kind of cross-reference it, so I know it worked. That's out there. There's adoption. People are using it. So just keep that in mind as you're building out. Now, before I begin talking about Google, I want you to understand that it is not magical software. Okay. Google in and of itself, Bing in and of itself, is a search engine provider. So, you can't go in, sign up and do my Google My Business page, which is really important. We'll talk about that in a second. And you pull some magic lever and suddenly you show up number 1 for everything. We have noticed in the past that, we didn't explain that well to clients, and clients really felt strongly that, hey, I should be number one in my area for this. And that's just not how it works. It takes time to build this out. Now, you do have some control. And basically, kind of the more you focus on it, the more you spend on it, the more content you develop for it, the faster you'll go up in those rankings. But I've had just so many coaching clients that get frustrated with their Google vendors because they just don't see that progress quick enough. And again, there's just a lot of considerations there. It's going to take time. So Google truly is not trying to be evil to you. They're trying to give the best search result, and you just don't have that authority and relevance yet. But that doesn't mean that local service ads and pay-per-click ads through Google can't get you there a lot quicker. So we're going to talk about those in a minute too. But let's start and focus back on what you need to be concentrating on now during your build out as a startup is that Google My Business. So, when you go online and you type in, whatever that might be, dentist, like I said earlier, Raleigh, North Carolina, and it brings up the maps and then it's got people listed in the maps. Google has gotten really good, and this is a good thing. Trust me, this is a good thing about it being the most local search result. The thing is, you still have to have authority. You still have to have reviews. You have to have people using the maps to get to you. Google needs to know you're a legitimate business that people are interacting with. So just because you might be the closest person that you're searching and you're still not showing up, that will change. That will get better, but understand there's reasons for that. So on that Google My Business page, lots of times during a build out, you can't get this until you're able to really collect mail because you have to verify that address through the mail. So the second you can do that because as early as you can get this up, that's what you want to do. But on that Google My Business, you just go to google.com/business. That's where you can go to set this up. You can do this on your own. It is not hard. I promise you it's not complicated. You do not need to pay a professional to do this. But you want to include details, obviously your practice name, address, phone number, that website URL has to be connected, hours of operation and services offered. Now, if you don't have a website yet, you haven't gone through the leadership brand process, you could set something else up and change the name later. It's not overly complicated to do that, but Google, again, will send a card out and you have to be able to be present to get that. So lots of times it is a little bit obstructive, so you can't do it until you get into the practice. That's okay. Other things that you might want to put on there, any photos, any videos that you have, use that Google My Business like a social media channel because it's Google and they want to see it. So get all that set up, and Google will take its time trying to find you, like I said, but just because you're not necessarily relevant yet. So the sooner we get this done, the better. If you've got patients that you've already worked with, that are coming with you, that have left positive reviews for you before, go ahead and get them on that platform, leaving reviews for your new office as soon as you can, because you want to build trust and credibility, and that Google My Business page is probably the biggest part of that. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the local SEO optimization. This is the SEO. Implement local search engine optimization strategies as soon as you can, because it's all about visibility and local search. And yes, you want to use relevant keywords, but here's the thing. This is not something you're going to do yourself. If you are, you're never going to get the value out of it that you want, and you're going to spend a lot of time on something that changes daily. That's why these professionals are doing it. But here are the things you need to make sure your company that you hire are paying attention to. Do not keyword stuff, let's just say, but they need to obviously have relevant keywords inside of the copy for what is showing up as the topic, right? So if it's dentist Charlotte, they obviously talk about being a dentist in Charlotte, North Carolina. But you want to make sure that you've optimized your site on site through meta tags. And again, these are things that your company will do. Optimize it. Pretty much anything you do these days, I talked about setting it up on WordPress. It's going to be optimized for mobile. But the one thing, and this is the biggest thing, is your website has to load fast. And this is part of that SEO optimization process. So that fast loading time needs to be top priority, because if something loads, it used to be like 3 or 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Now it's like less than 2 seconds. Somebody will move on to something else. It's amazing our attention spans these days. Another area on optimization, backlinking. And basically what this means is your marketing provider will most likely go out and try to get, there's organic and there's paid backlinks. But if your website is, quote, linked to another website with authority, that gives you more authority and allows you to move up quicker in SEO. It's even better if it's a local one that has authority. So say it's, local newspapers now are all digital, but they've got, 20, 30, 40,000 quote subscribers or people that go to it every day. Google sees that as, oh, wow, they mentioned you or they connected your website, their authority, you must be authority. So different backlinks can help. A lot of marketing companies have the ones that they go to and set up. And then there's, some basics that everybody does. There are free ones, but again, this is just something, have that conversation with your marketing company. SEO, I get it. It's a black hole. You don't really know what's happening there. But just try to learn as much as you can as you're talking to different marketing providers. We can certainly help you with that too. We've done that for years and certainly understand how frustrating it can be, but also it can bring you some business down the road quickly. So Google reviews and ratings, want to talk about this. So I would encourage every patient that comes in, maybe even set up an automated system. There's a ton of them out there. I can give you some suggestions if you want to, shoot me a email or set up a call. But encourage patients that are going to leave positive reviews. Make sure they do that through Google My Business. Some people have these platforms that are cheaper, but the review comes through that and not to Google. And I'm like, just make sure they're on Google. Other big thing, you need to respond promptly to reviews, both positive and negative. And you want to make sure that you show them commitment. Now, how you respond to these, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because you should know this by now. Positive ones, obviously thank them. Don't get into anything that could mess you up with HIPAA, even if they're negative. Don't get into actual things about procedures. There's so much going on right now around reviews and HIPAA. But if somebody leaves a negative review, I don't think that's bad unless you have a ton of them. And then actually you see a pattern there, and hopefully that helps you realize what the opportunity is. But if somebody leaves a bad review, here's why that's a good thing. How you respond to that plays very well. Don't respond to it necessarily for that person, but it plays well for the person that's reading those reviews to decide if they're coming to you. Okay, this situation happened. How did the practice handle it? Right? Like think about Airbnb, VRBO, some of these vacation properties where somebody leaves a bad review. Lots of times something's broken, check-in was bad, whatever it was. But then people go in there and say, thank you for letting us know that. We had no idea that this is broken. This has been taken care of. We've gone to a different system of how we bring people in that seems to be a lot more effective. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. So it's like we took your feedback and did something with it. That's important. That's a great opportunity. And then, obviously it's from a reputation standpoint, high ratings, they attract new patients, helps you differentiate yourself. So make sure you're really paying attention to reviews. I do not think down the road this will be as big a deal, right? I think it still is very much now, but reviews are becoming less trusted than they used to. I think the shift you're seeing now is more people getting into online groups, whether that's through Facebook or the Nextdoor app, and asking people. I think they tend to trust their neighbors more than even what is happening on Google. But again, all of it's kind of a crowdsourced area that we're trying to gather information to decide what dentist we want to go to. And then we talked about maps already. Just make sure everything's accurate there. Always keep your practice information up to date. Hours is a weird one, especially when you're starting out, because you're trying to figure out what hours you're going to do. Keep in mind, as long as you've got a 7 a.m. appointment, you can say you're open at 7 a.m. It may only be one Friday a month or whatever, but it's just more where it can get confusing is if a patient was to show up and walk up with dental. I mean, I've never seen it happen. It could, and that could frustrate somebody because you said you're open and then you're not. They could report that to Google. Google not going to ping you for it or punish you for it, but if that keeps happening, they certainly would. So keep it accurate as you can, but work around the hours. And I can help you with that too. So I do want to talk about the actual paid side of Google and the ads and the local service ads. So the ads, this used to be called like AdWords years ago, which is Google Ads now. But I really think this is great for targeting potential patients that are searching for a specific service. So let me take Google and take direct mail, because in my mind and what I've seen over the past 15 years of marketing dental practices, the best tactics have always been Google, social media for branding, not for advertising, for branding, and then direct mail. But Google, what it's great for is it will capture the people that are in market. These people are thinking about going to the dentist. Let's get them. Let's make sure we talk to them like we talked about with the leadership brand, story brand. What is their problem and how are we going to solve it? Not, hey, we do Invisalign like 50 other people in the market. What do you do? What problem do you solve? What Invisalign will solve? And then, have some specials or something catchy to get them to call it. If you're doing advertising, you can't just advertise without a call to action. Please don't do that. You're wasting your money. Make sure your ad copy, that you've got the targeted keywords and your ad copy, all of that sort of matches up and matches what your website's going to say. Google gets really upset if you just try to get them somewhere and it has nothing to do. That landing page doesn't have anything to do with the ad. So just make sure you're writing compelling ad copy that is user focused and then has a couple keywords so Google likes that and the algorithm will pick it up. Set a budget. That's the biggest thing. And again, that's something we can help you with. I would play with that. Sometimes people massively underspend the market. What I mean by that is let's say I wouldn't go after implants straight out of the gate, but let's just say you want to do that. An implant cost per click could be $30, $40 in your market. And you've set a budget of $25 a day. Even if somebody clicks on it, it just burns your entire budget for the day. So I would look at the keywords that'll get you traffic, people to the website, and then they'll see that you do implants. I would really be cautious on my budget and how I do that. I would also look at when am I going to get the best results. We always see Saturday and Sunday tank. So I always suggest not doing ads on Saturday and Sunday. Some people freak out about that, but you're going to get less on those days and Google will spend your money. So just be cautious of that. And then what are you going to measure with that? I would say click-through rate's a great one, but the conversion rate, right? How many of those people actually clicked on a schedule now or one of your call to actions? That's what you want them to do. I'll talk about Google Analytics here in a minute, but it'll give you that data and kind of map where people came in from and go to. So you'll be able to know that too. Becoming really popular, these Google local service ad, the LSA advertising, it's more of a pay per lead. It's great. It's working great, but there's a couple things I want you to think about. Okay. The first one is people click on this. It's going to be very expensive and it may be somebody that is not going to buy from you. So you can report that back to Google. They're fine with it, but this can't really be led by a marketing company. A marketing company can set this up for you, but this is more of I like to say sales function. So your front desk has to really be Johnny on the spot of saying, nope, this was not a correct lead. We don't want to pay for that one. And just staying up with it. So there is a management side internally with your staff with LSA ads. So you need to know that straight up front. But what these ads do is they're going to display a verified local business. It's going to be at the top of search. And this is the ads that you see with a green check mark. Dentists may not be doing it in your area, so you may not see it for that. But if you go in, you search under some home service ads like HVAC or plumbing or something like that, you'll see these are verified people that Google has given a guarantee to. There's like a Google guaranteed badge. And basically it's, their vetting process. So with these LSA ads though, you're only paying for the leads generated. These are generally calls or messages. But like I said, make sure if you aren't getting the quality leads to let Google know. And like I said, they'll credit it back. Right now they're doing a good job of that, but we'll see as we move forward. I like them because they offer increased visibility. They've got that trust factor, helps you be more credible. I feel like they provide the management of these ads. They're not as user-friendly, but that dashboard is going to help you out on that and help you set budgets. So again, an agency can help set this up and talk through it with you, but you're going to have some maintenance on your side for sure. And then if you have an internal person that handles like social media and your marketing, this is probably another thing I would pass along to them. But again, monitor it, see what the success of it is, but just, make sure you're just not setting it out there and letting it go and nobody's paying attention to it. It could cost you a ton of money. I do want to touch on here before we jump off of this episode about Google Analytics. So you're going to want to make sure that your marketing company installs the latest version of Google Analytics on your website, because it tracks everything now. And with the ability of doing QR codes and being able to label those QR codes, that is incredibly important. So most agencies can set this up for you, but it's a crucial piece in figuring out the success of your campaigns. So I know for a lot of people, they get frustrated with direct mail because they look at the call volume and it's not there. But when you look at the Google Analytics, you can see how many people came directly to your site or through that QR code. So I'll discuss tracking when we get to direct mail, but it just can do a lot. So we covered search engine marketing, covered social media. There's still a lot of other options out there online, but all tend to be fairly expensive with less value. I will note that influencer marketing is a great way to launch your practice. I would look at the people in your local market, see who follows who, and is the ideal patient you want following them. But be careful with this, because you may end up sponsoring an influencer who 99% of their followers don't even live in your area. I've seen that happen quite a bit. So we're going to be talking about community here in a minute. That's the next area that you need to make sure that you tackle, because you're going to have some time in the beginning, right? Nothing wrong with that. And we want to make sure that you're building a huge presence in your community. So I will see you on that episode. Thanks.